Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 19th, 2024 Organizational Board Meeting of the Banning Unified School District Board of Trustees. The time is 5:30. Please be advised that a recording or broadcast of this meeting is being made at the direction of the board. Clerk Ruiz, please take roll, if you can.
Trustee Anguiano.
Present.
Trustee Martinez-Lara.
Present.
Trustee Novales.
Present.
I am present. And President Trellman.
Present.
Please let the record reflect that we have a quorum.
Item 1.2, Board of Trustees Oath of Office. Can I read that? Superintendent Davis will administer the oath of office to the re-elected Board of Trustees to initiate their new four-year term.
Okay, so if we can have our board members who are re-elected come down, and then I will swear each of you in. Is that too far? You feel like you're too far away? You can come closer if you want. Just, yeah, okay, yeah, that's good. Excellent. You know, I think we should be okay. Okay, are you guys ready? So this is the swearing in, so you're going to repeat after me. So this is the swearing in of Trustee Myra Aguiano, Trustee Lucy Martinez-Lara, and Trustee Laura Troutman. Did you guys think I was going to forget your name? Okay, yeah. Okay, so you're going to raise your right hand, and you're going to repeat after me. This is the oath of office. I, say your name. That was good. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Can you guys hear them back there? Okay, good. All right. And the Constitution of the State of California. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States. Okay, let me go back. Sorry. That I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Excellent. Great job. Please give them a round of applause. Congratulations.
All right, sorry about that. Item 1.3, election of president.
This item is for the board to nominate and elect a board president for the 2025 calendar year.
At this time, we will begin the nomination and voting process for the office of President of the Board of Trustees. Mr. Davis, will you please share how this process will work?
So good evening. This process will follow the Robert Rules of Order, which will be the board will take nominations from the floor. Now, the floor is not the audience. The floor is the board. So any board member can nominate themselves or another member. A person cannot, I just said that, a person can nominate himself or herself. A member can rise and decline the nomination during the nomination process. So the way it will work is any one of you can nominate, make a first nomination. That nomination needs a first and a second, and then the board will vote. If it does not receive a first or it does not receive a second, it dies. And then we ask for another nomination. But if it receives a first and a second, then there's a vote. If that vote is approved by a majority of the board, then that person is the president. If it does not receive the votes needed in a majority, then we move on to the second nomination and so forth. And we'll follow that same process for the clerk after the president. Good with that? Okay.
All right, would anyone like to make a nomination? Please state the name of the nominee.
I nominate Shelley.
Is there a first? I'll first.
I'll second.
Okay. I have a first from myself and a second from Trustee Martinez Lara to nominate Ms. Ruiz for the position of board president. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion passes. Congratulations to Trustee Ruiz, 2025 Board of Trustees President. We're skipping to 1.4, election of the clerk.
This item is for the board to nominate and elect a board clerk for the 2025 calendar year.
At this time, we will begin the nomination and voting process for the office of clerk of the Board of Trustees. Would anyone like to make a nomination? Please state the name of the nominee.
I nominate Myra Anguiano.
Is there a first?
What'd she say?
Myra.
Myra. Oh.
Is there a first?
I'll first.
I'll second. I have a first from Trustee Martinez Lara and a second from myself to nominate, Trustee Anguiano for the position of board clerk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion passes. Congratulations to Trustee Anguiano, 2025 Board Clerk of Trustees. Item 1.5, election of voting representative at the annual county committee meeting on school district organization elections.
This item is for the board to nominate and elect a voting representative to attend the 2025 Annual County Committee on School District Organization Elections.
At this time, we will begin the nomination process to elect the representative to the annual meeting. Would anyone like to make a nomination? Please state the name of the nominee. Can I nominate Can I nominate trustee? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. Trustee Novales.
No, I decline, thank you.
Trustee Martinez Lara, would you like to accept? Do I have a second? Or do I have a first?
I first.
A second?
I have a first from trustee Anguiano and a second from trustee Novales to nominate trustee Martinez Lara for the position of board representative. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. Congratulations to trustee Martinez Lara, 2025 Board of Trustees representative. Item 1.6, Board of Trustees 2025 regular board meeting schedule.
This item is for the board to adopt the proposed Board of Trustees regular board meeting schedule for the 2025 calendar year.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 1.6?
I move to open.
Okay, excuse me, Shelley will second. I'm on first. So sorry.
I'd like to discuss, I'd just like to move Thursday, May 15th to the next Thursday, if that's possible. That's the only one that is, I think, is it 22nd? I don't have my,
May?
May
May.
22nd, yes.
Second. Okay. Are we all okay with that? Yeah. Okay, great. Can we make those changes, Mr. Davis?
Yes, we did look into that and we do have the space and there will be no issues with that.
Perfect.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Any other question or discussion? No? Okay. I have a motion from trustee Anguiano and a second from trustee Ruiz to approve item 1.6. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 1.7, adjourn organizational meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn the organizational meeting?
I move.
I second.
I have a motion from trustee Novales and a second from trustee Anguiano to adjourn this meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. The organizational meeting is adjourned at 5:43 p.m. Item 2.1, call to order. Welcome to the December 19th, 2024 regular board meeting of the Banning Unified School District Board of Trustees. The time is 5:44 p.m. Please be advised that a recording or broadcast of this meeting is being made at the direction of the board. President Ruiz did ask that I run the meeting, thank you, as she is a bit under the weather. Okay, Clerk Anguiano, please take roll.
Okay, so Clerk Anguiano, present. Lucy Martinez Lara. Present. Leslie Novales. President Shelley Ruiz. And Laura Trauman.
Present.
Please let the record reflect that we have a quorum.
Item 2.2, Pledge of Allegiance. Would someone like to lead the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Davis?
Sure, absolutely.
Item 2.3, Adopt Agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Are there any board requests to change the agenda? No. Do I have a motion and second to adopt the agenda as posted? I move.
I'll second.
I have a motion from myself and a second from trustee Martinez Lara. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. The agenda is adopted with a 5-0 vote. Item 2.4, student board member comments. He is not here today, so we'll go to item 2.5, opportunity for community comments, closed session items. Did we receive any community comments?
We did not receive any comments.
Are there any comments now? Okay. Item 3, the board will now go into closed session. The time is 5:46 p.m. Okay, item 4, we are back from closed session. The time is 7 o'clock. Clerk Anguiano, please take roll.
I'm present, Maya Anguiano, Board Member Lucy Martinez Lara,
Present.
Board Member Leslie Navales,
Present.
President Shelley Ruiz,
Present.
Board Member Laura Troutman.
Present.
Please let the record reflect that we have a quorum.
Okay, item 4.1, report from closed session. Clerk Anguiano, please share.
Item 3.1, in closed session, the board received information and was updated. Item 3.2, in closed session, the board received information and was updated as well.
Item 4. Thank you for sharing. Item 4.2, opportunity for community comment, open session items. Have we received any community comments?
We did not receive any comments.
Are there any comments now? No? Okay. Item 4.3, BTA comments. I would like to welcome BTA President Anthony Garcia.
Martinez Laura for committing for another 4 years. I know it is a huge time commitment and it is appreciated. Second, I just want to congratulate President Ruiz and Secretary Anguiano and Trustee Martinez Laura for your new positions. Congratulations. And third, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and hope everybody gets time with their family and well-deserved rest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Item 4.4, CSEA comments. I would like to welcome CSEA President Jennifer Serrano. Is she online? No? Okay. Item 5.1, superintendent comments.
So good evening, Board President Ruiz, Clerk Aguiano, members of the board, our community. Thank you for being here this evening. Just a few things to report. I want to talk a little bit about our athletic programs. We had a great fall season, as we've talked about. Our football team, track and field, cross country, and now we've moved into soccer, basketball, and wrestling. So we've already had a lot of success already. I believe our girls and boys basketball team are doing very well as our boys soccer team is doing really well. So we're continuing to show the magic this year, turning around our sports program. So that's really good to see. So I want to thank all of our athletes for their hard work and their commitment in the cold that's coming. Next, I just want to talk a little bit about academic achievement. Tonight, there's going to be a presentation by Educational Services about our dashboard. And I don't want to get ahead of that. I just want to say that we continue to have students grow. We're continuing to grow in our district, and that's great to ask for, and that's what's happening. Next, I want to thank all of our people who have participated in the Banning Real Talk podcast. If you've been on that podcast, can you raise your hand? Okay, okay, we have, all right, we have some people who've been on there. Okay, Ms. Torres, I didn't see that hand up there. Okay, there it is. All right, so want to just thank you for being on that show. When I go from place to place, people do talk about it. People do share that they appreciate hearing from students. They appreciate hearing from staff. It really paints a picture of our community that's not coming from my voice. It's coming directly from our staff voice. I think our last Monday release was on our DI program, dual immersion. And I'm having a little goosebump episode right now because it's just powerful in terms of what has happened historically and what we continue to do, and people are still here making that program grow. So I want to thank everyone who listens to it. If you haven't listened to it, you better ask somebody, but we want you to listen. But I think we are all booked out for this year, or just about. Okay, so we have a few openings left for this year if you're out there listening, and we'll take listeners from or participants for next year too. So we want to keep this going because it really does show what we are here in Banning. Next, I want to talk about a couple weeks ago, we had all 5 board members attend the California School Boards Association conference, which was in Anaheim. I think there was, I don't know, 4,000 to 6,000 people there. This is from board members throughout our state, where we had opportunity to listen and learn, but we also had some time to socialize and relax a little bit and enjoy each other's company. So I want to thank the board for their time, from being away from their families, from being out. It's a lot. You know, I typically go to bed as soon as I get home. So staying up later, it's a lot. So I want to thank you guys. We had a great time, and those things are important for us as a governance team to continue to grow. Finally, I want to congratulate our board president, Ms. Shelley Ruiz. Look forward to working with you this next year. And I want to thank our outgoing board president, Ms. Laura Troutman. As a superintendent, you have an opportunity to really develop a relationship with the people that you work with. And it's not all easy. It's not all rainbows and sunshine. There's some challenging issues. There's some challenging things that come up. And there's some conversations that happen from here to there. And we have to kind of determine how we move forward and how we stay collective. That doesn't mean everyone agrees, but it means that once the conversations happen, we move forward as a team. And I'm really proud of this board for their leadership as we continue to move forward collectively together for the benefit of the school district and our students and community. So thank you very much. And finally, I wish everyone a happy winter break, but I miss our students. We don't have students tonight. This is a non-student day, and I can feel the difference, you know, from the start. So to all our students out there, I know some of you follow me on TikTok and Instagram. I see you. You talk to me about it. You want a picture when I see you. So I just want to thank you for being involved and engaged, and keep moving forward, keep growing, and just know this. We understand sometimes we forget as adults who work with you every day that you're students. You're growing, you're learning, you're developing. You're not perfect. None of us are, but we're here to support you. And so let's work together as a unit. But our goal is to ensure that you're prepared, you're inspired, and that we educate you. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Item 6, consent calendar.
The recommendation is to approve consent calendar agenda items 6.2 through 6.4 as provided. All matters listed under the consent calendar agenda are considered to be routine and enacted by one motion and vote. There is no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the Board of Trustees considers the motion, unless a member of the board or administrative staff requests that specific items be discussed and/or removed.
Do we have a motion and second to approve the consent calendar agenda as provided?
I move.
I'll second.
I have a motion from trustee Novales and a second from trustee Martinez Lara. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 7, 7.1, Nicollet Middle School presentation. I would like to invite Dr. Cammie Thomas, principal at Nicollet Middle School, to share tonight's presentation.
So before Dr. Thomas gets started, I was supposed to look up, remember? So before she gets started, I just want to say this, because some of you guys might be saying, well, she was just here. But actually, that was the end of last year that we started this. So we looked at the calendar because our board agenda, not the presentations, but the agenda was relatively light. We had some space. So we wanted to move up one of our sites. And so we had a principal meeting last Tuesday, looking at our last Thursday, looking at all our principals. And Dr. Thomas volunteered. She says, I would like to go and fill that spot because I want to update the board on the work that we've done. So I wanted you guys to know that. Thank you, Dr. Thomas.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Ruiz, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Davis, my colleagues, and the banding community. I am Dr. Cammie Thomas, your proud Palomino principal at Nicollet Middle School. And I'm here tonight not only to wish you a happy holidays, but also to give you a mid-year update on your favorite middle school here in Banding Unified School District. But before I do, I want to revisit the slide that I left you with back in May to just kind of update you on what we were looking forward to in the 24-25 school year and what we've done. So we did in fact send a large group to the Avid Summer Institute, which helps set the stage for our school-wide Avid strategies implementation. We have a lot of trainings scheduled with RCOE. Our partnership with them is very strong, so that way all of our classroom teachers in all departments have the opportunity to solidify their understanding of Avid practices for the benefit of all. Quite a few of you have students at my school, and they all have the advisory 7th period where Avid strategies, PBIS, and BAR strategies are taught. And we use the agenda, and we have all of our teachers checking our kids' second set of eyes before they come home. So we're really strong with our Avid implementation this year. I'm also really delighted that Mr. Worthington is now our new Director of Special Education after he was with us. So we are working very closely with our special education team to make sure that the collaboration between the teachers and case carriers is happening regularly, that we have students in their proper placement and services and supports within the least restrictive environment are in fact being provided to all of our middle schoolers. We are continuing with our iReady program and watching our kids grow in their grade level progress in both ELA and math. We will soon have more Jane Schaefer trainings for our teachers, not just in ELA, but in history and in science as well. And we are continuing the Irvine Math Project and enjoying collaboration for the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade levels. PBIS and our Pack Track program is still growing strong. Our very first carne asada fries fiesta was enjoyed by more than half of our Nicollet students. And our next event, which is Ramen and Boba Fest, will be celebrated on January 10th. And my heartfelt thanks goes out to Mr. Pulsifer and the Nutrition Services team who made that event, that first event, and this next event happen. So we are going to put ramen hopefully on the menus for all of our schools maybe, but Nicollet will be premiering that at our second Pack Track event, which is very exciting. We also have our PBIS points being redeemed regularly with our beautiful rolling cart. So the kids are super excited about making good behavior choices and being integrated in the school community. And we also know that I talked about our expansion of band offerings and growing in that program. And those of you that attended the winter concert over at the Banding High School PAC, their Performing Arts Center, we had a really packed house in the PAC. And that was so cool for our kids, for our orchestra, and for our band. We also had our musicians and color guard pair up with Banding High School for the Cowboy Christmas. We also have our cadet corps going to XTC. They participated in the Beaumont Veterans Day Parade, which was great because they showed Mountain View over in Beaumont, how a parade is really done. So I was proud of our cadets for that. And we are having such a great time with our mariachi club. If you went to the PAC meeting that was hosted at Nicollet, you got to see the club in action. So we're really excited about that club growing and more kids having instruments in their hands. We've been giving a lot of time in our Smart Wednesdays back to the teachers for collaboration. They have time every week for grade level or department time. We also have time for collaborating in terms of our BAR program. BAR is not just with 6th grade, it is with 7th and 8th grade. So we are constantly calibrating lessons, looking at data, and talking about the wellness of our students. ASB and Web have also been busy making sure campus is a place where the kids want to be. And we've had a lot of events and student support in the classrooms with our web students going into the younger grade levels, 7th and 6th grade classes, to give peer-to-peer lessons and delivering tutorials. And we have indeed started this year strong, and I'm proud for the fact that our team has been making this magic happen with the collaboration with all of the different departments. So I said that everyone wants to be at Nicollet. And I compared some data from last year, this time last year to this year. And although we see about a 1.2 25% improvement on our ADA, we can tell that it's still growing. We have kids that are coming to class. We know that they want to be part of Pack Track and they want to show that they want to be integrated in our school community. Oh, this also means that 492 students were Pack Track qualified in terms of their attendance, so that's outstanding. And you can see that we have a lot of stuff going on at Nicollet just in this first semester. You can see why they're excited to be here and meet our Pack Track expectations. It's not just to help them to be successful, but it's going to help them be successful as Broncos over at the high school and beyond. And speaking of being successful and prepared for life beyond school, I just want to mention that our MESA, which is Mathematics, Engineering, Science Achievement, they attended the annual STEPCon conference at the Bournes Technology Center in October. They had lots of science experiments, interactive technology, and they had roundtable discussions with professionals about what they could do in the future with STEM as adults. They also competed in the annual UCR roller coaster challenge and submitted 8 roller coasters and competed with 17 other middle schools. And they had a really fun time applying their physics knowledge. We also had a competition with coding, the UCR coding competition, which was a week-long event. And I have to congratulate Fernando Moto Munoz for placing in the top tier of the coding students who he competed not just with middle, but with high school students. So that's very exciting. So with all of the fun things we have, food days like the high school has, our Pack Track events, the dances, our color run, the turkey trot, we have kids that are looking beyond the context of middle school. So we have all of our fun rallies, we have our music events, we had our Winter Fest not too long ago, our Students of the Month are continuing, our dress up days, lots of fun things are happening at Food Day. We also had a fundraising opportunity where you could pie a teacher in the face. So that is Mr. Tucker covered in pie. So we have lots of cool things happening. Our kids are really enjoying the lanyards, believe it or not. I actually have a handful of students who have certified plushy Palomino pets with their lanyards. I've got some hippos. I think that's a capybara. I don't know. But the kids are really eating up being immersed in the Nicollet culture. Our sports teams were killing it. We had our flag football get their 3rd championship in a row, which was exciting. So really good things are happening for sports and for our Cadet Corps and just all around for our students at Nicollet. Color Run, we will be repeating that experience in spring. We will have another one. We will announce the date as soon as we get one on the calendar. Now I'd like to talk about some discipline. Now, as many people know, and as I can recall coming in as a brand new administrator 3 years ago, Nicollet has changed in terms of its reputation. I'm very proud of that because the work that the administration has done, our teachers, and basically everyone involved to make the school a better place. We're seeing it. We can feel it. You come on campus, it's a different place. And I presented to you last time how accountability for student behavior was getting stronger and our documentation is absolutely tightening. And we're really seeing what discipline challenges we're having both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So we are, in fact, actually seeing less incidents on campus. And I was really pleased to see this data comparison when I ran it today, since our last day with students was yesterday, and I wanted to give you really real numbers. If we break it down, you can see that in October, this time last year, we had 119 suspendable incidents. That says 56 in October this year. There's 103 suspendable offenses last November. There's only 45 this year. 51 last December. There's only 27 this year. We're doing something that's helping these children to make better behavior choices. I actually had to run this twice and call my brand new assistant principal in, who is a math guru. I was like, someone make sure I didn't do this wrong. So I was really impressed with this data. And if we break it down even further, I showed the data for the year at the last coffee and tea with Dr. T that I had in October. So for November and December, I want to just take the data a little bit farther. So we're really doing a very great job in our discipline office of cataloging why are kids coming into the discipline office, what are the referrals looking like. And you might notice that in the graph, and this is all the brainchild of my awesome AP, Mr. Brian Downer, you can see that we have a spike in this year for incidents in comparison to last year, which is in the yellow. If we break down why, It's actually tier 1 behaviors, petty defiance in the classroom. They are cussing. They are doing something that's not a suspendable offense. It's kid behavior. They're middle schoolers that need guidance. They're kids that need better behavior choices. And as we are doing more mediations with our team, with the help of our ATS, with the help of our teachers who are using restorative practices, our counselors who are helping do those conflict mediations, we have actually done 205 mediations this year, which I really think has positively impacted what our discipline looks like in terms of suspendable offenses. We're mitigating a lot of problems simply by sitting the kids down and talking through issues. It's taken a lot of time and a lot of work, but I truly feel that it's making an impact with our students. This is also thanks to the work of our BAR program, which again is not just at 6th grade, it's at the 7th and the 8th grade level. And every month, our teachers have dedicated time during Smart Wednesdays to talk about our students who have higher SEL needs. We have our ATS team at site. It is no longer at Coombs. It is with us, which has been a blessing truly to have the alternative to suspension team back at Nicollet. We have our very strong PBIS program rewarding those positive behaviors. And again, the high standards in the classroom, thanks to the AVID training and the best practices in our classrooms, I truly believe are helping our school as a whole to raise the expectations, and the kids are rising to the occasion 100%. I had the opportunity to go into classrooms throughout the semester. So some of these pictures made it on social media, some of them did not, but you can see the kids are doing presentations, they're creating, they're co-constructing, they're having discussions. We've had a lot of really cool math talks happening. If you ever get the opportunity to come visit, come and see a math class. These kids are getting up and doing these math problems. Some of my squirreliest children, they are getting up and using that energy to go around the room and do math problems. There's lots of talking. There's lots of work still to be done. To be certain, there's a lot to be done in terms of inquiry and getting the kids to use academic vocabulary. But we are right there, my friends. We are right there on getting these kids fully and wholeheartedly prepared to rise to the expectations at Banning High School. And I say that because I ran this data, and I apologize again to Edith for taking so long to get this presentation to her, because I really wanted the numbers to be correct when I present it to you tonight. So 614 students at Nicollet have no D or F grades in semester 1. That's 63% of the school have A, B, and C grades. Now, grades aren't everything. But I'll tell you, we've got some smart kids on this campus who not only are meeting our attendance goals or meeting our behavior goals, but they are killing it in the classroom with no D and F grades. So way to go, all of my Palominos that are watching. Parents, your kids do not deserve coal. They need to get whatever it is they asked for Christmas, because that is outstanding. I'm so very, very proud of our kids. Now I want to break those numbers down a little bit, because this is just so exciting. And shout out to our math coach, Miss Rollins, for helping me with these numbers. I taught French, not math, so I appreciate her help. For my 6th graders, there was 354 A's, 243 B's, 166 C's, and only 74 D's and 91 F's. Those 6th graders did a fabulous job. So my elementary colleagues, thank you so much for sending us prepared little 6th graders. My 7th graders, the highest category was A grades for 7th graders, 327 A's. That's outstanding. And for 8th grade, we had 261 A's. But we've used the word magic a lot, and Mr. Davis used it, and I used it at the beginning of my presentation, but I have to tell you, there's no magic involved here, because it takes a family, this entire Palomino family, which is the board, my colleagues, this community, and the families within it, to make this work. It is not just the administration, it is everyone together to help make this happen for our students. So thank all of you guys for your support, and we really look forward for continued success in the new year and as we head into semester 2. So I hope all this makes you as happy as it did me today running the data.
I do have a few questions. If it's okay, Dr. Thomas, thank you. So the first one regarding the incidents that we have with the numbers, are those reported or logged numbers?
Let me go back. On this one?
Yes.
So these are incidents by month for suspendable offenses. These are A violations like fighting, C violations like they brought a vape. This isn't kids that are, let's say, they're getting in an argument or they're horse playing. This is just suspendable offenses. This isn't tier 1 things. These are things that would get a kid suspended off campus, the education code violations.
Quick question, sorry, real quick, I'm sorry. Do we know why there's a spike in October's, in both October?
I hate to say it, but unfortunately, thanks to social media, there is this phenomenon called Fight-tober. Yeah, I am not a fan of social media. As you know, I've got a very strict cell phone policy for a reason. It's because of that. So when we've experienced long breaks, which parents, please monitor your kids' social media. Thank you. The next 2 weeks might be busy. The kids will find time to see what the newest challenge is, and they might participate in that. But if we look at this, the reason why we see spikes in our graph, it's because of just incident statements being reported. This spike and this graph isn't showing you necessarily this, everything was a suspendable offense. It's just how many kids visited 111 and made a statement. So we see that spike because the kids do not have this fear of reporting. The kids hear me say every Monday, if you see something, say something, join the Google Classroom, and I give the Google Discipline Classroom code, and they know that they are able to give a statement in confidentiality. They can give it at home. But this is just showing that we have an increase of kids reporting something, or kids that are having an increase in tier 1 behaviors.
So the other thing, if you go back to that last slide.
Sure.
So if you look at September, we have a holiday in September. There's a 3-day weekend. There is no other break until we get to November. So that is a long stint of time where people, kids, anyone is just in this space. And so it kind of elevates. However, a lot of districts have addressed that, and we have addressed that with our union and staff. So next year we will have a break. There will be a break in October that gives at least a little bit of a pressure point where people can catch their breath until we get to November. So hopefully that will help. But I know that's a part of it as well.
A 3-day weekend or?
I think it's going to be a 4-day, yes.
But in
So
addition to
will
that,
help.
having events for the kids to look forward to and having those really high standards within our PBIS program, it's working because the kids know, hey, you don't want to make that choice because you could take yourself out of pack track. And especially with our 6th graders who think it's really exciting to be part of this, it's new to them. They're like, oh yeah, let's make the better choices. So I know that just with that break being put in October and the different systems we have in place, these numbers are going to keep going down.
Okay, and my other question, Dr. Thomas, with the slide that follows this one, the one with the
This one.
bars. Okay, so for tier 1, how many of these are repeat incidents? Do we have that data?
I would love to be able to look up that number on Aries, but as Mr. Barriga knows, we've had some fun with creating queries on Aries. So he and I will be talking with Dr. Merlos on how to get the right figures to see, because that's my curiosity too. Because the way that Aries is set up to make queries, there are ways that you can create codes that can help you see that. I personally just don't know what to put in for that. And I don't know that you would either, but that's something I'm curious in too. So we have a couple different Google forms that we use to catalog data. There's a lot in there. This is just what we've been presenting for the last couple of months in terms of, but repeats, yes, I absolutely want to take a look at that, a deeper dive, because one of the other means of correction that we have been doing is smaller focus groups with our kids that are the repeat offenders. I think I have about on campus maybe 40 kids who are consistently in 111 for one reason or another. They're out of class for one reason or another. So although it's not reflected in here, we do know who those kids are, but I can get that for you once I have a query.
Okay, that would be awesome as a follow-up. And then I'm all about DI, and I know it wasn't really mentioned on this presentation. So hopefully in the future, we can also get more information on the offerings that we have at your school and what we're looking at to make it more rigorous for our kiddos and how many obtain their seal of biliteracy or are on the path for that.
Yeah, and I apologize for not doing that. They actually have had some really fun events. They went to the Tamale Fest not too long ago. They really did enjoy that. We have also had a lot of discussions with our students about the expectations we have for them in the classroom as well as for their behavior. So we're opening those conversations with the SST process to make sure that those kids stay on the straight and narrow too, so they are on that trajectory to get the seal of biliteracy. So yeah, absolutely. The next time I present, I'll make sure I have more for DI. But shout out to Ms. Gonzalez for all her work for DI.
Any other questions?
I just have a comment. Thank you so much for giving the students ways to communicate that are not physical. I think having those giving them a voice and vocabulary and ways for conflict resolution is so valuable for them. And I see how positive you are, and it's really wonderful. And thank you so much for that, because I think it's very important for them to have that voice and know how to use it.
Thank you.
Also, thank you for taking the time to move your presentation up and doing it today. It's really appreciated. This is great. These are good numbers. This is great progress. I'm very impressed. Thank you very much.
Yeah, takes a team. So thank you, ladies and sir.
Item 7.2, Educational Services, 2024 Dashboard Presentation. I would like to invite Dr. Kazi Bush and team to share tonight's presentation.
Good evening. I'm President Ruiz. I'm Clerk Anguiano, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Davis, extended cabinet, and the community. This evening, I'll be talking a little bit about our 2024 California dashboard. Just a reminder, of course, of our mission statement, which is at the foundation of all of the work we do to prepare, inspire, and educate our students. And so, just a quick recap. The California dashboard is part of our state's accountability system. All districts and county offices report their progress based upon the 8 state priorities. Our dashboard for this year is going to show us the growth we've made from 23 to 24. And this growth will be based upon the number of points a student is away from an identified standard that says that they've met standard. And so you'll be hearing me talk a lot about distance from standard, and all of that means is how many points on average by grade level and subject were our students distance from standard. And so we look at 2 factors. The status, which shows us again how close they are. And one other thing that Dr. Thomas didn't point out that I will point out about Nicollet, particularly with their math, is that they had significant growth as a school site in terms of how closer our middle school students are towards getting to the standard level for math. And then, as you see here, there's the 5 levels, and those levels range from very low to very high. And then the more important piece is the growth. That's where we are going to continue to focus on, is how are we moving students? And we clearly saw an example of that at Nicollet, as our teachers there are making an impact and moving our students forward. And so you'll see that growth also comes in 5 different categories, ranging from increased significantly to decreased significantly. And just a note, there are 2 priority levels where if we see the numbers go down, that's actually a good thing. And that's going to be for chronic absenteeism and for suspension. Everything else, we want to see the numbers go up. Okay, and so we will jump ahead. You'll notice here for the year 2024, we are at red. And I will say this, even within a color, we can still have growth. As an example, last year, we were 72.6 points below having met standard on average. We increased by 7.1. This year, we're at 70.3 points, but we were able to still demonstrate that we had growth. And so by having grown those 2.3 points, it was still enough where we're not classified as having gone backwards. And so and I'll point that out again, because you'll notice sometimes with the colors, you may say, well, if the color is different, as long as we've shown growth within that color. And there are certain thresholds for how many points of growth we need to make in order to show that we've moved forward. For mathematics, similarly, we are at 108.8 points below standard. We've grown 2.8 points. And so the thing to note again is that there was growth made even within the shift of a color change.
And can I say it this way?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just feel compelled. So the way it works with the California dashboard is their calculation or their, what do we call that?
Yes,
No, algorithm. Their algorithm basically says we need X amount of growth to keep you in a color and even more to advance a color.
that is correct.
Even though you're growing. So we have growth, but we went down a color because of their algorithm. And so that's what's really important to note. The note is we are continuing to grow. And we will do this later, I think, in the superintendent's mid-year evaluation. We will break down all of those components in terms of student groups, where we see growth in certain groups, but we don't. And then those are the questions that we should be asking. Why with these student groups, or why in this area are we not growing? So, sorry, Dr. President.
No, that was an excellent clarification, because that is very true. For each of these priority indicators, there are set numbers of points that if you fall within this amount or this threshold, it's considered this color. If you fall within this threshold, it's considered another color. And so Mr. Davis is spot on, correct in that. Okay, so our English learner progress indicator. And so last year, you notice we made a significant jump. We had 51.8% of our students, of our English learners who made progress on the LPAC. And this year, we had 32.1% who made progress, which means they're still making progress, but it's considered a decline because it did not meet the threshold minimum amount of points the state has designated for a particular color. And so we have already been digging into what are some things that we need to look at in terms of our ELD instruction. And we also note that there was an adjustment in terms of the number of years that students can qualify to be considered a long-term English learner, and that is now 7 years. Our college and career indicator, we are at the prepared level, and so we are in orange, and last year was our baseline year, and so we are at a 19.6 threshold for this year, and in terms of the state's threshold of color assignment, that places us in the orange category for college and career readiness. For chronic absenteeism, you'll notice here for 2024, we saw a decline of 6.9%, which is very good because we want this number to drop. We want this number to be 0. And so we were yellow last year. We're still in the same color, but we have made significant growth in terms of reducing the amount of chronic absenteeism, which speaks to student engagement, getting students here at school, having them to stay here in school. Graduation rate, I'm very, very proud. Not only did we increase it by 2.3%, but it was enough based on the state's threshold to bump us into a green category. And so we're very proud of the work that our schools are doing K-12, TK-12, or preschool 12, excuse me, because work at every level matters. All of our students will eventually matriculate, and we're very proud of that. Our suspension rates have also declined, which is a very good thing. And this one, you'll see that there was a change in color, which simply means we met the state's threshold criteria based on their algorithm to put us in a different color, but we are also declining, which is what we want to do. And so I'm just putting things all together. We know that our focus is going to be making continued growth and focusing on what can we do to improve some of our practices. That is going to continue. But some very good news that we do have to share. We had a meeting with the California Collaborative on Educational Excellence, so many acronyms. And essentially what this group does for all school districts who have student groups who may have not, or who may have received a red in 2 or more priority areas, they look at those districts to say, what are you doing to meet those student groups' needs? And so while we were identified, we made so much growth within our student groups that we were able to exit. So we're very proud of that, because essentially what that means is we are moving student groups out of those lower categories. And so that is a major part for those of you who remember hearing about program improvement years ago and AYP. This is sort of the updated accountability model. And are there any questions about our
Did you
dashboard?
go over the graduation slide?
Did I?
I may have not been paying attention. Maybe I was just waiting for thunderous applause or something.
So
No, but that's okay.
I
sorry.
did, and I'm going to back it up, because yes, that one does deserve a round of applause, because we want our students to leave, all of our students to exit the Banning Unified School District with a diploma. So yes, we are very proud of that. And it does deserve a round of applause. And Mr. Davis, I did mention from preschool on up, every level contributes towards students exiting our district proficient and prepared. Very, very important.
Dr. Bush, thank you for this report. I did have one question on reclassification. Was I correct in reading that we didn't have any reclassifications this year?
We are still in the process. We have not, we haven't solidified numbers yet. Those numbers will be coming later on in the spring.
Okay.
For reclassifying students from being English learners to being redesignated fluent English proficient, because we will also want to look at their LPAC scores in the springtime to help us make those determinations.
Thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much, Dr. Bush. Item 7.3, Innovation Technology Presentation. I would like to invite Mr. Barriga to share tonight's presentation.
Not up there yet. One second, hopefully it's up there soon. Good evening, Board President Ruiz, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Davis, Cabinet, Banning Community. I have this slide here as a reminder, always mission statement, what our focus is here at Banning Unified School District. Here to try to give you a quick, brief update on technology, some of our priorities and updates. I'll do my best to make sure that I don't bore you or lose you as I go through these slides. Some of our focuses right now are cybersecurity and staff device replacement cycles. As we all know, cybersecurity is one of the most concerned areas of technology. There's many threats and areas where information can be lost and compromised. Um, some of you may be wondering what cybersecurity is. There's a lot of definitions out there that exist. One of the most applicable is that cybersecurity is the practice of protecting devices, networks, and data from unauthorized use and access. Cybersecurity isn't just a thing. It's not one single piece of software or one single piece of hardware. It is a combination of resources on our network. You can see here some of the key pillars of cybersecurity are to identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover to these incidents that may happen in our networks. I'm also going to talk about our staff and student, apologize, there's an error there, I should say both, staff and student device replacement cycle. These are important to help us with our budgeting, planning, and to also keep us up to date with any of the innovations and changes in trends in technology, user hardware, and that sort of thing so that we don't stay out of date as trends change. When I walked into this environment here, some of the cybersecurity challenges and areas of concern were user password requirements, centralized antivirus and endpoint protection, consistency of tracking of our assets, not just infrastructure, but end user assets, student Chromebooks, tablets, device laptops, that sort of thing. Purging of departed users' profiles and their accounts and data, as well as end user device patch management and updates, basically making sure that all of our devices that are in our end users' hands are up to date, receiving the latest patches, and are not compromised. So in order for us to get an idea of where the district was at, so when I first walked into this environment, it's what are our current practices, what exists, becoming familiar with all of those areas. In order for us to have a roadmap, a plan moving forward on some of those areas that we felt we weren't as secure in, it's always best to go and seek out the help and the advice of industry experts. So we didn't do this alone. We actually went out with a consultant to develop a security posture review. And basically what they do is they took a look at the existing environment. We had to give them access. This took a lot of time between myself and other members of the ITS department. And they cross-referenced that with some key areas. So this is kind of a shrunk version of what we went through. The 4 areas in the security and architectural maturity platform was our endpoint systems, operations, network, and other, just broad things like backup, cloud management, that sort of stuff. So if you look on the bottom of the screen here, you'll see this maturity scale similar to Dr. Kazi Bush's presentation. You could see how color schemes and shows growth and areas of needs. So the one difference in the color scheme, which it was interestingly enough matched with the exception of that gray because it was unknown or non-existent, which unfortunately does happen even in today's environments. So you'll see there, the red, as we all know, it's a gap. It usually means something really bad. That orange means we're evaluating it or we're changing it, we're doing something different. That yellow means installed. Now you would think that, hey, if it's installed, it's working. That's not always the case, which was unfortunately our case here at Banning. And then you got operational. Is it working? Is it doing what it's meant to be doing? But there's still another level, which is optimized. Is it up to best practices? Is it designed the way it should be? Do you have proper training on your staff to support it? That sort of thing. So as you can see here, what I did was to try to give you an idea on those 4 categories of what some of these areas look like. There were subcategories, many of them as high as 8. So what you'll see here is in our endpoint area in this category here was all yellow. There were some red, but overall it was yellow, which basically means we had a lot of stuff installed, but none of these things were actually operational, optimized, or up to par. Our operations, as you can see here, was red. This is an area of huge concern, which is what we're some of our focus on right now. One of the highlights was on our network. This area was like, say, our firewall, secure access, remote access to our network, that sort of stuff. And then you can see there's a couple of grays there. These things are just non-existent in our environment. With that yellow there on that data protection, because we do actually have some data protection resources. They're just not operational or optimized at this point. or at the time of the security posture review. So after we went through the security posture review, now it was time to start rolling up the sleeves and identifying where we should start based off of these industry experts' suggestions and recommendations. So basically, you see here is most critical, less critical, short-term, and long-term. Most critical, obviously, these are the areas where, hey, we need to hurry up, focus our attention on these areas, identify how we can hurry up and fix this under the short term, and what can we do long-term moving forward 6 months, 12 months, and kind of what that roadmap looks like. The short-term, most critical were privileged access management. That sort of stuff is basically an end user having administrative access to a device, older accounts, that sort of stuff, things that can create a compromise in our environment. Unified systems management, this is basically all-encompassing asset management, not just with hardware, but software as well. What do we have out there? What exists? Endpoint detection and response, basically modern antivirus. We've all heard about the old ways of protecting systems with antivirus. As trends in technology and threats have become more sophisticated and innovative, so has the way that they protect systems. And we didn't have any of that stuff in our environment. The long-term things like email security, Intune deployment, these are basically patch management, ensuring that our devices are on an ongoing schedule. We're not relying on end users for updating the devices. We're centrally monitoring, centrally pushing out these patches and updates to devices. And then SASE workshop, developing, this is a hybrid type of a solution, which also requires training, as most of these do. So kind of putting together a workshop for the team so that we all know what we have to do to protect our network, our data, and our resources. Less critical areas over the short term, third-party risk management. What sorts of services, resources do we have out there? Again, are they up to best practices, that sort of stuff? If they're not, basically working with the manufacturers and vendors to make sure that that happens. Pen testing, this is penetration testing. This is something that I don't foresee us having to go through anytime soon. What this basically does is you hire a firm and it's called ethical hacking, and they basically try to see what they could do to penetrate our environment, whether it's leaking data, gaining access to our systems, seeing if a user out there would open up to some spam phishing attempts for ransomware and other type of threats that come in. And then, of course, over the long term is best practices. And these are working with manufacturers, ensuring that our systems are up to what their suggestions are for best practices, adopting standards, like cybersecurity standards, for example, working with organizations like CIS, Centers for Internet Security, developing their models for cybersecurity, National Institute for Standards and Technology, adopting their standards, best practices. I've even met with our cybersecurity insurance companies, Keenan, to identify what their best practices are on ensuring safety of our network and our resources as well. So hopefully I didn't lose anybody there on that that really exciting road down cybersecurity. So student device replacement cycle, we actually have, there's two types of devices for our students. We have classroom sets and we have take-home. This isn't consistent throughout all grade levels. We're still working on developing that consistency and that standard for the district. So what you'll see there is obviously you see a lot of scratch out there on 9th, 10th, and 11th. 9th, our high school students, they do not have a classroom set. They've been one-to-one with their take-home. So our focus last year and this year has been on 3rd through 8th grade. What you'll see here is it's a year-over-year replacement cycle that takes us through the life of that device. So as of right now, we're adopting a 4-year device life expectancy for our Chromebooks for our students. So you'll see last year, as you all know, back in 2023, there was a large purchase of Chromebooks. So we used that to form and develop this replacement cycle for classroom sets. In 2023, we deployed to 3rd through 6th grade of classroom sets. 2024, you'll see there we did 7th and 8th grade. You'll see that in 2025 and 2026, there's no plan for classroom sets for those grade levels. And then 2027 will be the first year of replacing devices for the classroom sets. So this helps us, again, planning, budgeting, that sort of stuff. These are the take-home. This is the take-home. I also want to make sure that we all understand that this is a guideline. This is a baseline. These documents are fluid. There's a lot of things that can change these plans, these schedules. So this take-home a schedule here that you see, if you follow the color code, it basically takes the students as they matriculate year in and year out. What our goal is that when we send a device home for a student, it stays with them throughout the life of that device until it needs replacing, upgrades, whatnot. So if you look at the peach color there for fourth grade in 2023, those are the four grade levels we deployed last year. They'll have it in fifth grade in 24. They'll have it in sixth grade in 25. They'll have it in seventh grade in 26, and then they'll be looking for a new device in eighth grade in 2027. Staff device replacement cycle. It's a lot to look at. So staff device replacement cycle. So as you can see here, we have a breakdown of all of our school sites in the district office. We also broke it down even further for our 3 employee user groups. Reason why we did this is because those 3 employee user groups do not use the same type of device. There's a lot of different needs at district office level, from school site to even administration. So we need to make sure to understand that and be unique and sensitive to those needs. So we broke down the number of devices, number of employees by school site. You can see that empty column there in 2020 and 21. It's because my understanding the district during those COVID years went out and made a large purchase of devices that were mainly focused for certificated. There's been some movement with that, so we're still trying to kind of capture all of that. But if you focus on 2024, which was this year, this was the first year of that device replacement cycle. We just finished the phase 1 of that, which was focusing on the certificated staff, the teachers. Phase 2 will be replacing the devices for our classified and our administrative staff. And as you see there, it's got a 4-year device life. So in 2028, they'll be looking at a replacement of a new device. And then 2025, you'll see the 2 campuses scheduled for their new devices, and so on and so forth. So I know I covered a lot. I probably went over it pretty quickly, so I don't bore you. But that's actually all that I had to cover on some of our key areas that we've been working on. They're actually not praying in that picture there. It's actually part of a team building activity that took place. So I decided to use that as a picture to kind of showcase the team and their happiness. Any questions?
I have a few questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, so first one is on the staff table. Where do substitutes fall into that?
So what we're doing, we have basically 2 primary categories for our substitute teachers that are not included on this. So typically with our long-term subs, though they get treated as a traditional employee, they'll receive a device that'll be assigned and allocated to them. They'll receive a user account, and that'll stay with them. And that's because when these long-term subs, when they're here 1 month, 3 months, the entire school year, it doesn't make sense for them to use generic accounts. Our daily subs, those are the folks that come in 1 day, 2 days, and then are gone. Some of them we only see from time to time. So we are working on a substitute initiative to provide a set of devices to each of the school sites with a generic account so that they can log into the device. They have access to curriculum, materials that they need for the classroom instruction, anything that they would have access to for that 1 or 2 day period.
But we have that in place, or we're still working on?
We've deployed, as of right now, I believe we've deployed to 4 sites. I believe Hemmerling, Cabazon, and Hoffer have already received their devices. I believe Central has already received. One of the challenges that we actually have is that we haven't received all of the devices back from the teachers. So we're hoping to get those back so that we can allocate those to the school sites for the daily subs.
And then my other question is going along with the computers. I know for our arts program initiative that we have, do we have computers for our art teachers?
For our art teachers,
Yeah.
I don't see why not, but I feel you're asking me because there might be a chance that they don't, but I don't see why art teachers wouldn't have a computer.
Okay, can
So I don't know.
can we make sure that they do have access? That way, if they do need a computer, they can have their own computer
Okay.
versus maybe borrowing the teachers and
We
then the
don't-
teacher not having?
Yeah, we don't want anybody borrowing devices. So,
Okay.
and my understanding that the certificated numbers here should include those art teachers. I don't see why they don't, unless I'm missing something. So I'll definitely make sure to follow up with that and ensure that our art teachers do have devices.
And then, I'm so sorry, Leslie. I know you have questions too. And then I don't know if it's the right word, the smart boards, they all work in our classrooms, right?
Say that again?
The smart boards, the screens, do they
So
all work?
I-
Teachers can use them?
I apologize. I want to make sure that we get the right phrases. Smart boards is actually a manufacturer, and
Okay.
they were one of the first innovators of those devices. The devices that we actually have in our environment are new line boards. We do have a few smart ones that still
they're called
exist.
new
I know that there's been some challenges with the device, this replacement cycle at those school sites where they've been having some issues connecting to them. And everything, we monitor the ticket queue and any issues that have been going on. There has been some issues, but we've been resolving those as we get to them. I believe at the last time I checked, the queue was down to only a few tickets at each of those school sites. But we do understand the importance of getting those things up and running, so the team understands the urgency in addressing those tickets.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question is, I know you're a IT person. Do we have, I don't know, help me, Mr. Davis? It's about like a district-wide calendar. And I know it goes with our website and our site so that our parents can easily access events and upcoming things to plan.
So that's I'll try to do it under a short, or did you want to address that, Mr. Oh, so you already tried. So some of there's a lot of challenges in developing a district-wide calendar. Mr. Davis has definitely stressed the urgency behind this. We've been working to try to develop something. Some of the challenges that we have is that the calendar at Hemmerling doesn't talk to the calendar at Cabazon. It also has to do with our practices and the policies that we put in play, where if a Hemmerling event is taking place, like say back to school night, and it doesn't say Hemmerling back to school night, and all the rest of the parents, guardians, community see that, then you end up having an issue because everybody's going, oh, wait a second, it's back to school night, but it's at Hemmerling. They think it's at their campus. So there's some challenges there with that process in ensuring that users enter the data correctly, but there's also that cross-calendaring challenge that we're working on. So the new, it's still new. We're only a year and a half into our new Aptitude Thrill Share website. So we've been working with them to try to see what we can do to resolve some of these issues and provide this district-wide calendar so that we can provide that to the community.
So in essence, Mr. Barriga will be working with Mr. Mead and the rest of the team to see how we have a place, let's just say on the website, where and I know there's like 2 calendars on there already, but district-wide calendar where we can see everything. So that is going to be the next priority that you guys, and I know we've talked about it, but we're going to move past talking about it and we have to make it happen. So we'll have further conversation about that.
Yes, ma'am.
My question's very simple. When we were talking about cybersecurity, I know a couple of years ago, the California state had grants specifically for cybersecurity. Do they still exist and do we qualify?
So some of those grants have already expired. So there was actually a grant that was just initiated this last year. I know that on the state level and the federal level, they're doing what they can to try to help curb some of these or lack of funding issues with cybersecurity. So this latest round that just happened, it was my understanding, I believe it was through USAC, which is the same organization that provides funding for E-rate, did have a cybersecurity grant, very limited dollars, and it was basically kind of tailored towards those school districts that have already went through challenges like the LA Unifieds. So fortunately to us, we haven't gone through those yet. I'm superstitious, so I'll knock on wood, but those dollars were pretty much already earmarked for those districts that had went through these ransomware attacks or data leaks. And everybody that I talked to, all of our vendors, our E-rate consultants, basically said, hey, we can go through, we can write the grant, but you're probably got a 1% chance of it coming to a banning. They're gonna focus on those school districts that have already went through those cybersecurity incidents.
Okay, thank you. And then I had one other question. When we replace these devices in 26, 27, 28, and maybe, I don't know if this is for you or for Mr. Herrera, does Measure O, can we use some of that Measure O money for that?
Typically, bonds are not utilized for equipment such as technology devices. We do have technology infrastructure on the project list. However, for actual computers, that would be other resources.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barriga. Item 7.4, Business Services, First Interim Financial Report for 2024-25.
This item is for the board to approve the 2024-25 first interim financial report.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 7.4? Okay.
I move.
I second.
I would like to invite Mr. Herrera, who's already prepared, to share tonight's presentation.
Good evening, President Reese, Clerk Anguiano, distinguished board members, Superintendent Davis, members of the Banning Unified team, and the community joining us both here in person and digitally. Today, as part of the December cycle, is providing the board an update on our budget, known as the first interim reporting. And before I get into the presentation, I'd like to take a moment here and highlight a few things. Dr. Thomas talked about her music program over at Nicollet Middle Schools, and we see it here now in a different context, the winter concert. We see the brass team there, trumpets really going on, and we see some bells also. You can tell it's Christmas, right? So want to definitely thank them for being able to showcase them on our presentation. Also would like to thank everyone that is involved here, school sites and department, but especially Mr. Eddie Ramos here and his fiscal team in working through the very delicate and ever-changing budget process. Every day it keeps on changing, it keeps on refining, and so his team is always ready to work through whatever is coming our way budgetarily. Great, so getting into what is known the budget cycle and providing a couple of things here rolling into the budget projections. We went ahead and closed the 2023-24 unaudited actuals, which known also as the books of last year. Those weren't finalized when we last reported on the current year budget back in June. So now that we have the unaudited actuals, beginning balances are revised, including carryover, unearned revenues, and really folded into our current and subsequent year projections. It is also based on a conservative number of assumptions here, including enrollment, attendance, and staffing. We do have more up-to-date information helping us further refine those projections. And it is also a 3-year projection. So currently, we are at the 3 o'clock here of this graphic in terms of the budget cycle itself, and more to come here in terms of what is to be expected in the next few months. The report does include expenditures as of October 31st and includes a 3-year budget projection for the current year and 2 subsequent years leading up to 26-27. There are the different types of certifications, and I'm happy to report that Banning Unified School District is reporting a positive certification on its current and subsequent years, meaning that we are on trajectory here to meet our financial obligations. It is a board-approved report that is usually by December 15th Today is December 19th, and because of the timing with the organizational meeting, we already submitted everything to the county. This is really a formality to go through the approval process and provide that information to Riverside County Office of Education. And I'll have here Mr. Ramos provide additional information on projections.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera. So as part of the first interim process, along with accounting for all the financials, looking at how we ended the year, we also work very closely with the school sites and student services as well as educational services to look at how's our enrollment looking. So off to the left, you'll see in the graph our 24-25, the current fiscal year. We have our projection for the 25-26 fiscal year in the middle. And over on the right-hand side, we have the 26-27 projection of our student enrollment. Now, some of the highlights back in June when we were developing the budget, we estimated that we would have about 4,275 students. Now, when we did kind of like a snapshot of our enrollment in October on Census Day, our enrollment was currently 4,237. Now, it's coming in a little bit short. However, it's the enrollment trends and analysis is a collaborative effort with student services. So we checked in today, and it looks like our student enrollment is actually on track with our June projection. So although in October it was a little bit low, we're kind of looking like our projections in June were valid. One of the cohort movements from our students moving from 5th grade into 6th grade and becoming a Palomino. Previously, we were seeing a trend of a negative 9%, meaning we were losing some students. Now that trend has decreased. So we were previously losing 9% of those students. Now we're losing about 4%. So we're seeing some improvement. Now, as Dr. Thomas did that presentation, now all I can think about is ramen, because they're implementing a lot of incentives for those students. They're having some nutritious meals, doing a lot of fun things. So when we see these trends improving of our students going from 5th grade to 6th, it's no wonder why, because of all of the great things that our schools are doing. Now, we are also seeing smaller transitional kindergarten classes coming into the district. And at the same time, when our 12th graders are graduating, those classes are really large. And so we're having smaller classes move in, and we're having our graduates are some larger classes. It does kind of look like it is declining enrollment, but because it's different sizes of students coming in. Now, our transitional kinder age requirement will be fully implemented in the 25-26 fiscal year. Now, so at a very high level, let's go ahead and take a look at the revenues and expenditures from first interim. So off on the left-hand side, we have our combined general fund revenues. Now, when we say combined general fund, we mean our restricted funds as well as unrestricted. Now, our total revenues was 86 million. And off to the right-hand side, we had our total expenditures at 96 million. So our revenues, 86 million, expenditures larger at 96 million. And I'd like to highlight some of the expenditures and revenues that we identified. We currently this budget includes one-time revenues of 1.5 million, and that includes interest income. We also have one-time expenditures totaling 5.8 million. Now, some of the things that make up that 5.8 million is spending down those carryover funds from prior years, as well as some one-time funds. Now, when you remove the one-time income of 1.5 million and you remove the one-time expenditures of 5.8 million, and we look at the unrestricted general fund only, we have a surplus of 400,000. Which is really good to note. As part of the interim process, we take a look at our adopted budget and we do a comparison against first interim. So during the first interim process, we look at all the latest staffing, we look at all of our expenditures and revenues, and we say, okay, what are our updated information? Let's bring it into the budget now. We do a comparison to see how close we were at adopted budget. Just for measurement, Some of the highlights from our changes is 5.4 on the left-hand side, 5.4 million in increased revenues, and that includes recognizing the full award for the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, as well as recognizing some of that interest income. Some of the expenditures that we're showing in this budget are the one-time off-schedule, off-salary schedule payment to employees, as well as utilizing some of the supplemental and concentration carryover. We had a 0.20 decrease in our reserves. So down at the bottom of the graph on the right, we like to keep our reserves intact as much as we can. And so although the revenues and expenditures are changing, we want to keep those reserves as close as we can. And so the reserve change was 0.20%. It was a fraction of a percentage. Some of the one-time funding we received is from the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, and this graph illustrates the funding that we have received and the funding that we've fully spent. The majority of these one-time restricted funds have been spent down by September of 2024. You'll notice that the Expanded Learning Opportunities at the top does continue. It's kind of really dependent on the state climate. However, we have utilized the majority of these restricted funds for one-time expenditures. So in the 24-25 fiscal year, we had a total of $10 million in restricted one-time funds, and you'll notice in the subsequent years, it decreases to approximately 7.7 million. And I will hand it over to Mr. Herrera for ADA review, multi-year projection.
Thank you, Mr. Ramos. And so now taking a look at a 3-year projection here. This here is the table of the major assumptions of development of the 3-year budget cycle. So first, we'd like to highlight the average daily attendance. We have been projecting in the past, say, 91.5% average daily attendance, meaning the frequency in which students attend school. That has been upgraded to about 91.8. And as we do get more enrollment, as Mr. Ramos explained, that number is also anticipated to increase, also given some of the initiatives that the Student Services Department, alongside with the support of our school sites, are working on. We are also in what is known the 3-year average funding methodology here with the state in terms of our LCFF local control funding formula, taking advantage of the fact that even though we do have declining enrollment, we're able to average out the highest ADA in those last 3 years so that we can benefit from, what is the funding mechanism that best benefits the school district. Another figure we'd like to point out that may change here as the CalPAT Census Day information is being finalized and revised is that the unduplicated pupil percentage is currently at about 91%. There's an expected increase to about 92%, still working through that process that may yield additional funding for supplemental concentration. And last but not least, and one number that we keep a close eye on is the cost of living adjustment. For the current year, we did see a significant drop from what was previously projected around this time of year. Last year at 3%, went down to 1.07. Also projections for 25-26, there's a lot of conversation at the moment at the state level and the various agencies currently using the most conservative number at 2.46%. All speculation until there's the final economic factors collected later on in April, where we'll go ahead and implement into the projections for the new budget. Looking at the multi-year projection in terms of figures, looking at combined balances, I would like to direct your attention to the deficits that are currently being projected. Please note that this is the combined projections, including unrestricted and the restricted general fund. And so it does include the recognition of expenditures without revenues for prior year awards, carryover. And so that way, we do see here quite a bit of a sticker shock here in terms of that deficit. But when we go ahead and drill down a little further into just the unrestricted general fund, As Mr. Ramos explained, even though we have a deficit of 3.9 in the unrestricted general fund, looking at that same area, just again looking at unrestricted resources here, it is 3.9. However, there is a small surplus of about $400,000 in the current year for various factors, one of which is the recognition of interest, which we've talked about quite a bit as we closed the books last year. There is cash balances, higher interest rate that are generating this very unique revenue source for the district that is absent in our projections moving forward because of the uncertainty with that interest income. So better picture than what we saw back in June because of the revenue that we're recognizing currently, looking at a small surplus. If we continue to go down to figures, our reserve for economic uncertainties did reduce by 0.2%, but that's all really arithmetic because our actual increase to the reserve for economic uncertainties is in the amount of about $300,000. So our reserves are a little bit larger than they were back in June, just because it is a divisor of expenditures. We have more expenditures projected, therefore it decreased our reserve. Also including the assignments and the reserve for economic uncertainties is known as a reserve cap. As a reminder, there is a reserve cap triggered at 10% in the current and subsequent years, and will weigh under that 10% there. Another item worth mentioning here is that the deficits we see in the subsequent years of 1.1 and 800,000, those are true deficits, and those are going to be discussed as we continue to gather more information from the state in terms of the cost of living adjustments. Also get more up-to-date information in enrollment, average daily attendance, to see how to address those deficits if indeed they will be materializing in the subsequent years. Looking deeper into the components of the fund balance, this is a table here showing the difference between adopted budget and first interim, so back in June to today here in December. And so we'll like to highlight a few items without going too much into details, since these are items that we have seen in the past. There was a change to the unrestricted program carryover, and that's really just a recognition of expenditures without the revenue, and so that is a placeholder there for those dollars. Also, there is supplemental concentration carryover expenditures that we're projecting in the current year. That's why we see a decrease of almost $500,000. And there has been, as Mr. Berger said here, a lot of work going on in the technology department and our infrastructure. So we are still continuing to carry on a line item to work on the infrastructure. We were able to increase that by $500,000, also expecting a textbook adoption in the very near future, and also carrying forward the cost of the labor relations agreements as it relates to health and welfare in the subsequent years. All in all, we were able to maintain and increase about $800,000 our components of the fund balance. In terms of our next steps, we're seeking the approval first interim. Also, the governor's proposed budget will be released in January. We'll be hearing about a lot more information as it relates to the state budget and its impacts to Prop 98, which is funding for school districts, including community colleges. We will also be providing in January the update and presentation on the financial audit report from last year. And that would eventually lead us on to our second interim in March. So with that, are there any questions?
No questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Herrera.
Yeah.
And Mr. Ramos. Okay. Any discussion or questions? No. Let's see, is there a motion and second to approve item 7.4?
I move.
I second.
I have a motion from President Ruiz and a second from Clerk Anguiano to approve item 7.4. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 7.5, Business Services, Annual Certification of Signatures.
This item is for the board to approve the annual certification of signatures.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 7.5? I move.
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions? No. I have a motion from myself, Trustee Troutman, and a second from President Ruiz to approve item 7.5. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 8.1, Educational Services, School Plan for Student Achievement.
This item is for the board to approve the school plans for student achievement for Cabazon Elementary, Central Elementary, Hammerling Elementary, Hoffer Elementary, Nicollet Middle, Banning High, Banning Independent Study, and New Horizons.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 8.1?
I'll move.
A second?
I'm sorry, who moved? Lucy, thank you. Any discussion or questions? No. I have a motion from Trustee Martinez Lara and a second from Trustee Novales to approve item 8.1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 8.2, Educational Services, Western Wheels Conference.
This item is for the board to approve Banning High School automotive teacher attendance to the Western Wheels Conference in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 8.2?
I move. I'll second.
Any discussion or questions? No. I have a motion from President Ruiz and a second from Trustee Martinez Lara to approve item 8.2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 9.1, Human Resources, University of Nebraska at Kearney Memorandum of Understandings.
This item is for the board to approve the University of Nebraska at Kearney Department of Communications Disorders Memorandum of Understanding until agreed upon termination between parties.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 9.1?
I move.
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions? Okay, I have a motion from Trustee Novales and a second from Trustee Martinez Lara to approve item 9.1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 10.1, Business Services, deduct change of order 01, district-wide roofing project phase 2.
This item is for the board to approve deduct change order 01 for contracts with Best Contracting Company and the Garland Company, Inc. as provided.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 10.1?
I move to open.
A second?
Any discussion or questions? No. I have a motion from President Ruiz and a second from Trustee Novales to approve item 10.1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. 10.2, Business Services, Notice of Completion, District-Wide Roofing Project Phase 2.
This item is for the board to approve the notice of completion for the Banning Unified School District Office district-wide roofing project with Best Contracting Services.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 10.2?
I move. I'll second.
Any discussion or questions? Nope. I have a motion from Clerk Anguiano and a second from Trustee Martinez Lara to approve item 10.2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 10.3, Business Services, Camera System Phase 2 Project.
This item is for the board to approve the camera system Phase 2 project, adopt resolution number 25-012. No, sorry.
Yeah.
Just the camera system Phase 2 project.
Okay. Oh. Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 10.3?
I move.
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions? I have a motion from Clerk Anguiano and a second from Trustee Trustee Novales to approve item 10.3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 10.4, Business Services Contractual Agreements.
This item is for the board to approve and/or ratify contractual agreements as provided.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 10.4?
I move.
I'll second. Any discussion or questions?
I do have one question on the Irvine Math Project. When we started that, was that, is that the total amount, the $189,000, is that the total amount, Dr. Kazibush?
That 189 would be the total amount pending approval of this evening's amended agreement
Okay, and.
for this academic year.
Okay, because I thought we approved last year for this academic year?
That is correct. We used it last year, which was the 23-24 school year. We started with our secondary sites, and we had additional money that was spent for those secondary sites and a small group of our instructional coaches. And so this would be a separate agreement from the money that was spent for the previous academic year.
Okay, and this 60,000, is that going to the elementary schools?
This will be primarily focused at the elementary schools to provide teachers an opportunity to step outside of the class, if you will, and observe some of the staff from Irvine Math Project to model some of the lessons that include number talks. And it gives teachers a chance to see others enact the lessons, and they also have some time to work in their professional grade level teams.
Okay, and I had one other question too, while we're talking about elementary school. Are they going to have an opportunity to have any professional development so they can take over, like in the summer? Or are we planning on doing anything for our elementary students, our elementary teachers? So it's not just coaches, they will have an opportunity to engage in this. From personal experience, I can say this was an amazing program. And our teachers spent about 6 weeks doing this in the summertime, and it was the money that we spent on that didn't have to be repeated because then we had our coaches and we knew what we were doing. I'm just kind of wondering if we have some kind of a plan for this to encourage our elementary and middle school teachers.
In terms of summer work, we actually, and this was part of the previous group, did provide some days in the summer, which was actually, it wasn't the summer, it was before this, just before, and right after instruction ended. So, which would be the end of May. And what we find is we usually get a large number of teachers who participate, but we also try to be mindful that, many times teachers do like some time to be off. And so we were trying to get it so that we could have this provided for them during the school year and during the day. But that is to say that we can still explore some ways to still provide some additional training and to work with our teams to see what would work in terms of some suggestions. But we would really like to be able to get input if we're able to move forward with the training in the spring to see what may be needed next before we make the decision to plan for it for the summer. If it is determined that there is more training needed, At that time, we would evaluate to see what our next step should be and the best timing of
Okay,
when to provide it.
thank you.
I had a quick question, Dr. Kazi Bush, just for clarification, the Irvine Math Project, it's supplemental, right?
It is
Not core?
supplemental strategies. It is not a curriculum. And that means it's supplemental in the sense of these strategies can be used with any math curriculum.
Okay, thank you.
I hate to do this. So just for clarification, Ms. Novas, because when you're asking that question, it sounds to me like you're asking, when we bring something in and we have outside consultant trainers come in on curriculum instruction, and we're training our staff, we're training possibly our TOSAs or other instructional coaches, will that transfer on to the coaches, right? Or the internal staff to then be able to train staff? Is that part of your question as well?
No, I'm not quite sure. No, my question was, I understand the coaches, and that's a really important part of it, but teachers getting hands-on so that it's not piecemeal, so that they have an opportunity to really see it in action. So, because I'm thinking of time is of the essence as far as our students. Every day that our students don't have the strategies, then I just was wondering if it's possible for our teachers to have it and then have the coaches as a support system.
Okay.
Does that
Yes, okay.
answer? Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I have a motion from Clerk Anguiano and a second from myself, Trustee Troutman, to approve item 10.4. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 10.5, Business Services, Monthly Fiscal Services Reports.
This item is for the board to approve monthly fiscal services reports, bank reconciliations, purchase orders, warrant summary, and commercial warrant registers.
Is there a motion and second to open and discuss item 10.5?
I move.
I'll second. Any discussion or questions? No. I have a motion from Clerk Anguiano and a second from Trustee Troutman, myself, to approve item 10.5. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 11.1, Board Members' Comments.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to congratulate President Ruiz and Clerk Anguiano for their new positions. And I know it's going to be a fabulous year. And I would also like to congratulate Mr. Davis, Superintendent Davis, on his new book, Courageous Fire, Passionate Leadership. Thank you for that. I am looking forward to reading it over the holidays. And it's very exciting that we have such a scholar. No, it's great, and thank you. And I would like to thank you all for your hard work and wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and a very peaceful, restful. I know you guys have worked very hard, so thank you.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, I want to thank Laura for being a great board president this past year. Thank you for taking us all into account and helping us navigate the whole year with Mr. Davis. It was good. And congratulations to Ms. Ruiz. I look forward to working with you as our board president, and I will help you as much as I can as a clerk. And Lucy, yay for another year as being a representative. You're like a rock star in that role. So thank you for stepping up for that again. So I appreciate that. I know this last months since our last meeting, there's been so many great events for our district, for our students and families that everyone participated in, from the band concerts to sports, just everything, the performances for the holidays at the schools. Just thank you so much for providing this opportunity for our students and our families to experience how great our students are. So thank you for that. And I hope that everyone has a restful holiday and that you guys get rejuvenated, close this year up good, and start a new one next year. Thank you.
I'd like to also wish everyone a happy holidays, and I hope you get much rest, much needed rest and relaxation. Congratulations to President Ruiz. Congratulations to Clerk Anguiano, Lucy, for maintaining your role for 3 consecutive years now. Congratulations. You are a rock star in this role. Okay. So I have a speech. Good evening, everyone. As a school board member, I feel a deep sense of responsibility to speak out on behalf of someone who has not only been an exceptional leader within our district, but who has also touched the lives of my own children and countless others. The recent decision to rescind the Administrator of the Year award from Johnny Baker is one I find both troubling and unfair, and I feel compelled to offer my full support for him. I have had the privilege of knowing Mr. Baker for nearly a decade. He was the principal of my son and daughter, and from the moment they walked through the doors of Cabazon Elementary, I saw firsthand what true leadership looks like. He cared about each child's growth, well-being, and future. My children and many others are better for having had him in their lives. For the past 5 years, as Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Mr. Baker has continued to demonstrate an extraordinary commitment to this district. In this vital role, he has worked tirelessly to recruit, retain, and support our staff, ensuring that we have the best educators and support personnel to serve our students. The decision to rescind the Administrator of the Year award, in my opinion, my personal opinion, does not reflect the reality of the tremendous work and dedication that Mr. Baker has shown. This is a leader who has devoted years to shaping this district, someone who has been unwavering in their commitment to our children, our teachers, and our community. It is my role to ensure that we make decisions that are in the best interest of the entire community. We strive to support those who work tirelessly to make our schools better, and we recognize excellence where it is due. To rescind this award undermines the principles of fairness, transparency, and recognition. If we, as a district, cannot stand behind those who have demonstrated exceptional leadership and dedication, then we risk losing the very values that make us strong. It is essential to understand that the Administrator of the Year award is not a fleeting acknowledgement. It is a reflection of the impact a leader has had over time. Thank you.
I wanted to personally congratulate Mr. Calderon, our student board member, but he is not here. Him and our soccer team brought home the trophy after their tournament that he decided to attend instead of going to the conference in Anaheim because he wanted to support his team, and they brought the trophy home. So congratulations to our soccer team at the high school. I also wanted to congratulate Ms. Cole. I noticed that she is now gone, but Central Elementary did win the trophy for the Christmas parade this year. So congratulations to Central Elementary for winning the Christmas parade. And I wanted to tell them thank you for the beautiful concert. Their Christmas concert was a 2-parter, and it was really cute to watch the little ones get really into all their performances, and the older kiddos give it their all because it was like almost their last year or their last year. So thank you to all the kiddos over at Central for making our holidays very special and joyful. Congratulations to my colleagues once more. And I just want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a very well-deserved, restful break. Please, please, please stay safe. Thank you to all of you from the bottom of my heart, as always, for all your hard work and dedication during the whole year, not just during the academic year, but during the whole year. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to try this. I want to thank you guys for trusting me to take on this role. I want to thank you for being an excellent leader this year. And I want to thank all of you for your time, dedication, and love for our students. Please enjoy your time off. Spend time with your families. You deserve it.
Okay, item 12.1, future board items. Are there any future board items anyone would like to add? No? I know we briefly talked about it, but maybe a presentation sometime soon for the metal detector devices that we
Oh, yeah.
have. Yeah. Okay. Great. Item 15.1, adjourn meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move.
I'll second. Because I can. I have a motion from Clerk Anguiano and a second from myself, Laura Troutman, to adjourn this meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. This meeting is adjourned at 8:45 PM.
You later, okay?